TikTok was fighting for its life in federal appeals court this morning as they're trying desperately to stop that TikTok ban. So how did it go? Well, we don't officially know because the three-judge appeals court panel in Washington, D.C. did not issue a ruling today. But what they did do was, for an hour and a half, ask a ton of complicated and tedious legal questions. The lawyer for TikTok, the lawyer for the 8 U.S.-based TikTok creators, and the lawyer for the U.S. government were all tasked with answering those questions. The judges seemed sort of skeptical of some of the government's arguments, but really skeptical of TikTok's arguments. While the lawyers for TikTok and the creators were trying to focus on the major First Amendment violations they say this ban poses to the company and the 170 million American users, and focus on what they call the specific targeting of one U.S.-based company by Congress through this ban, the judges were more interested in TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, which of course is based in China.
TikTok Inc. may well have First Amendment rights and does, but TikTok Inc. can continue to curate to its heart's content. But what it can't do is do that while it's owned by China, because we're worried about what China does vis-a-vis TikTok Inc.
It's not owned by China. The owner of TikTok Inc., it's ByteDance Limited, is a Cayman Islands holding company that's owned by
subject to Chinese control. They're subject to Chinese control.
Well, they argue that, but I think the critical issue here is what they're saying is because there is the possibility of future Chinese control, right? They don't claim anything has happened yet. They claim there's future Chinese control, and therefore we can burden in a very significant way the speech of a U.S. entity and its users, which by definition is fully protected speech. So in order to say that they can do that, essentially take away the speaker rights of a U.S. entity, they surely have to meet strict scrutiny.
Despite having a Chinese parent company, the lawyer for the 8 U.S.-based creators pushed back, arguing even that isn't enough to justify this ban. He cited long-standing Supreme Court precedents from a 1965 case that says even speech deemed to be foreign propaganda is still protected by the First Amendment in the United States.
This isn't just a case about a foreign speaker. If this were a case like Lamont, just about foreign speakers and Americans wanting to hear that, I think you'd already have a victory for the American listeners under Lamont. And certainly no Supreme Court case has ever held to the contrary. And there's no history and tradition in our country of banning US speakers from hearing from foreign governments, even if they're hostile to our country, simply to express their ideas. But that's not even this case. This case is American speakers like the creators and like Base Politics who want to speak to other Americans on an American platform, and at the very most can be alleged to say they want to coordinate with a foreign publisher when they do so.
On the flip side, the government argued the First Amendment rights of TikTok, the company, and of the 170 million TikTok users in America are almost irrelevant because the national security concern over the platform is much more important.
There's a difference between saying we don't like the way the content turns out on this platform when China does it this way. And that would be saying, here's content that we like and don't like. That's different from saying we don't want China to be in charge of what this platform turns out. And the problem here, it's the covert content manipulation.
The government's lawyer continued that TikTok is not being transparent about the reality of China's ability to control the algorithm.
The whole point is that it's covert, and we don't have a way to stop it from being covert because it's being done through incredibly complex computer code that no one, including Oracle, who they want to hire, would understand, and because it's being done in a foreign nation where we don't have, we can't pass a law saying ByteDance make this or that disclosure about what their internal operations, because they're off in China. And those are the fundamental points.
Now, in several briefs, TikTok and the creators argued that the government didn't give any specific evidence of why TikTok is such a national security threat, and instead submitted pages and pages of redacted, or what TikTok calls secret information, to which one of the judges said, so?
We've never held that Congress is required to enact findings in some sense, the finding is the fact that they passed a law under Article 1, Section 7, designating TikTok for this treatment. It's not,
But if-
there's
I
no
don't-
requirement that Congress needs to put in a statute its findings.
There's no way to know which way these judges are going to rule or when they're going to rule in this case. But the fact is this: under the law, TikTok will be banned in the United States on January 19th. And what we know for sure is whoever loses this case will absolutely appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. But whether the justices decide to even take this case before the ban is enforced is completely unclear.